Sport inspires greatness. It creates enduring heroes, legends delivering moments that reverberate through history. But which daredevil of extreme sport deserves the honor of the greatest of all time? Pushing the envelope, revolutionizing risk and supercharging thrills. The world of extreme sport is in a league of its own. And for the perfect blend of creativity and sheer danger, one can't go past the icy buzz of snowboarding. Some athletes get their thrills au naturel, while others prefer to get their thrills in a more manicured environment. Like the undisputed goats of the halfpipe in America's Shaun White and Chloe Kim. The mountains demand that snowboarders get radical. And for the past 2 decades, these 2 Olympic champions have been well up to the challenge. From the slopes to the street is a sport that has plenty of similarities, yet some painful differences: skateboarding. Unlike snowboarding, skateboarding is done on surfaces that are never soft. And its one true master is the legendary Tony Hawk, the man who first landed the famed 900 or 2.5 rotations on a vert ramp in 1999. But the culture's desire to go further out on a limb burned strong at Tokyo 2020 in 2021, where the sport made its Olympic debut with one of the game's youngest ever medalists in 13-year-old Sky Brown. From the trailblazers to today's even younger daredevils, skateboarding maintains its place on the outer edges of sport. And at the pinnacle of insanity is the superhuman endeavor of mountain running. A sport that has its roots undeniably planted in the extreme. Also known as skyrunning, one of the sport's most accomplished is long-distance virtuoso Kilian Jornet, a daredevil with the raw majesty of the mountains in his veins.
I has been being in the mountains since I was a kid, climbing my first 3,000 meters peak when I was 3, 4,000 meters peak when I was 5, and like I started training since I was 13, like every day.
As a child, Jornet would ski, run, and ride his bike 10 kilometers or 6 miles to and from school each day. It's why the heights of Jornet's conquests mirror his greatness. The biggest came in 2017, when Jornet set a new record by getting up and down Mount Everest in only 26 hours. But what makes this 29,000-foot expedition unique is that Jornet reportedly did it without fixed ropes or oxygen, which is unfathomable, because any elevation above 26,000 feet is what mountaineers call the death zone. Air becoming so thin, it's unable to support human life for long periods. The Catalan is also a 4-time winner of the 171-kilometer Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc, an event which covers 106 miles, where runners must traverse mountain ranges across 3 countries: France, Switzerland, and Italy. Precarious cliffs, deep, treacherous valleys, And some of the highest peaks in the world are all in a day's work for mountain running's greatest of all time, where the sky truly is the limit. There are those in diving circles for whom traditional platforms lack sufficient thrills. These progressives instead look to nature to find loftier launch pads. And the result is a heart-pumping, white-knuckle version known as cliff diving. In the tradition of many extreme sports, where courage is the true measure of greatness, divers take the leap from between 85 to 92 feet, or 26 to 28 meters. It's a pursuit Rhiannon Ifland and Gary Hunt have followed since 2009. And if you check out the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, where the two ply their trade, the label greatest of all time will definitely be splashed about. Whatever tricks Australia's Rhiannon Ifland found to conquer her fears, they have served her well. The Australian won the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series in each of her first 6 years of competition. An extraordinary feat given the fledgling nature of the sport. In 2021, the competition resumed after a COVID-enforced gap year, with a focus on gender equality seeing an increased number of women in competition. But it did little to dent Ifland's status as the greatest female of all time. Going through the season undefeated, before closing out her 6th straight title by round 4 of the 2022 season in a windy Polignano a Mare, Italy.
It feels really rewarding to have pushed through those challenging conditions and to taken out the title. Like, it's insane.
Ifland had originally dreamed of winning gold medals in the more traditional pools of Olympic Games and World Championships. She represented Australia at junior level, but came to realise that she was unlikely to win Olympic selection. Instead, she earned money as a trampolining and diving entertainer on cruise ships in the Caribbean and Mediterranean, training and learning new dives at a theme park in Lyon, France. Ifland was invited into the series in 2016 as an unknown, a wildcard entry, and stunned everyone by winning 5 from 7 events and the World Championship. The second year was tougher due to a knee injury, but she battled through to win the title again, and Ifland even fulfilled one of her earlier ambitions, a gold medal at the 2017 World Aquatics Championship. Cliff diving is not yet an Olympic event, but there's an inevitability about that. Most likely, LA 2028, not out of the question for Rhiannon Ifland, who will be 37. The journey to become cliff diving's greatest of all time has been an epic one for this courageous Aussie. With some spectacular views and plenty of twists and turns along the way. The Red Bull cliff diving circuit was extended to a women's series in 2014 after being first established for the men in 2009. And like Rhiannon Ifland, Gary Hunt has been the standout in men's competition since its inception. A runner-up on debut, Englishman Hunt had won 9 from 12 Red Bull cliff diving titles by 2021. And in between all that, there were the 3 World Aquatics Championships. And then, at age 38, it was Hunt, the Frenchman, who won a record 10th Red Bull title for his newly adopted nation.
still can't believe it, to be honest, this year. Starting off, watching all the big young guns coming in with massive dives, I kind of felt like I was in their shadow, and it showed in the results. I felt like I had to really build my confidence through stop to stop, and I managed to get there in the end.
Hunt has dual citizenship, and after years of living, training, and forging relationships in France, the natural next step was to change allegiance. A keen swimmer as a child back home in Britain, Hunt often found himself distracted by the goings-on at the diving end of the pool, and eagerly took to the 1-meter board before quickly realizing he wanted to go higher. And after 14 years of competition, Hunt has never missed a single event in the Red Bull series. He's received the most 10s from judges for all divers. He's the first diver to receive all 10s. He has the most wins, and he also has the longest winning streak in a season, winning 6 in a row in 2014-15. You don't have to look hard to find superlatives for Hunt. Red Bull Series veteran David Colturi calls him a legend, quintessential and humble. But in keeping with the theme of this show, we're comfortable calling cliff diver Gary Hunt one of the greatest of all time. Grab a piece of webbing 2 to 5 centimeters wide, attach it to 2 fixed points, add some tension, throw in some acrobatics, and you have slacklining. Scale things up, however, and it becomes a different kind of animal. Estonian slacklining savant Jan Roos provided the perfect example of the activity with bigger teeth when he walked a 500-meter line across 2 limestone pillars situated in Kazakhstan. At this height, it's actually referred to as highlining, and the flips and tricks that saw Roos win 3 world championships were far from the mind, because making it to the other side is all that counts. Any lack of acrobatic flair in Roos's performance, however, is more than compensated by the sheer greatness delivered by Mother Nature. In Kazakhstan, for instance, the Ustyurt Plateau in the far southwest of the country offers up 2 monoliths known as the Fangs, which were crafted by the Tethys Ocean millions of years ago. The landscape is unearthly, but therein lies the danger for Roos. The barren desert provided temperatures of around 50 degrees Celsius, and the wind blasting across the arid plains meant his crossing was delayed for 5 days. Despite a safety harness, a fall in such high winds could send the Estonian crashing from his perch and into a cliff face. An equally spectacular result was achieved by Austrian Reinhard Kleindl, when he became the first to fire a line across Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe and wobble his way to the other side with the roaring gorge below. The mental capacity to focus under these vertiginous conditions is impressive. And while a safety line may take some of the dare out of the daredevil, the ability to make the 1-hour round trip suspended 200 meters above the ground and not lose balance is awe-inspiring. Toss in a blazing hot sun, winds that can reach over 55 knots at a moment's notice, and razor-sharp rocks that can cut like a knife, and you've got an athlete worthy of greatness. Wingsuiting has to be the undisputed king of extreme sport, because there really is zero room for error. The birdmen and women of this crazy endeavor hurl themselves from the most precarious perches on Earth, and if one thing goes wrong, it's game over. But adrenaline junkies like Frederic Fugen and his crew of soul flyers have made an art form out of absorbing that pressure and turning it into something quite beautiful. The French group travel the world looking to push boundaries in pursuit of creative wingsuit projects. And in 2020, they found one in their homeland. The group headed to the iconic Le Coubre lighthouse in Charente-Maritime on the southwest coast of France. Dropping from a helicopter at 1,000 meters above sea level, before lining up with the beacon at 40 meters to spectacularly flare their wings and double their height before parachuting onto a neighboring beach.
C'était extraordinaire, la prise de vitesse là, on était côte à côte. C'était ouf. C'était ouf. Énorme. Ça pique.
The logistics and timing to collect such amazing images is enormous. 12 jumps, 1 drone, 3 camera operators on the ground, 1 in the sky, plus 2 GoPros attached to each of the jumpers' helmets brings this death-defying vision to the world. And deaths do happen regularly. Since 1981, more than 400 people have died participating in wingsuit flights, with 1 fatality occurring every 500 jumps. In 2021, the Soulflyer team put it all on the line once again, this time in Egypt, where the ancient pyramids of Giza provided the perfect focal point. Launching themselves from the back of a plane at an altitude of 1,500 meters, flipping and turning, the thrill-seekers blazed a trail through the Egyptian sky, reaching speeds of 250 kilometers per hour to fly within meters of the ancient tombs before tilting their wings upwards, pulling their chutes at the exact height of the Pyramid of Khafra to land safely on terra firma. This followed the group's Door in the Sky project, where the group base jumped from the Jungfrau Mountain in Switzerland and successfully flew themselves into a plane at altitude. The project required every ounce of mental energy the group could muster. After the first practice run resulted in 1 jumper failing to make it into the cabin and instead slamming up against the side of the plane. A month later, the attempt was on again, and this time it was mission accomplished. The group mastered its push-to-talk radio system in conjunction with the pilot to complete the feat. But it wasn't until 2022 that the Soulflyer crew achieved greatest of all time honors, when Fugen and Co. launched from a helicopter at the height of 4,800 meters above France's Mont Blanc, covering an unbelievable 7.5 kilometers in a time of 3 minutes and 5 seconds. It was the longest wingsuit flight in history, and a reminder of what can be achieved when limits are pushed to the extreme. But are Frederic Fugen and his spirited team of Soulflyers the greatest daredevils of all time? classify them as the cowboys of sport. The wild men of freestyle motocross who push their mechanical steeds at full throttle and to the extreme. Otherwise known as FMX, riders toss their 220-pound machines any which way they can and at a hair-raising 40 feet above the ground. The sport has had many incarnations over the decades, all at various death-defying levels.
Here's one rider who's more than a hothead.
But up until the turn of the century, the greatest of all time was the legendary Evel Knievel. Through the 60s and 70s, the American-born thrill-seeker attempted to jump everything from rattlesnakes to canyons, vans to fountains. He even attempted to jump 13 single-deck buses in front of a packed Wembley Stadium in London, all with varying degrees of success. In those days, attempting a backflip wasn't possible. The risk of a 300-pound Harley coming down and crushing the rider being too great. Now, if a performer doesn't have at least a double backflip in the trick box, as well as a range of variations, they're not worth their salt. But try a backward somersault across a famous landmark like London's Tower Bridge, and suddenly you have the world's attention. That's what Australian Robbie Madison did, and it's just one of many stunts listed on his impressive CV, whose physical preparation for motorcycle jumps would match that of any high-performance professional athlete. Madison is the first person ever to successfully complete a crossing of the Corinth Canal in Greece, reaching speeds of 120 kilometers an hour to successfully make the 80-meter jump. In 2007, he paid homage to Evel Knievel in Las Vegas by performing the greatest distance motorcycle jump of all time, breaking the world record by leaping the length of a football field at a distance of 98.34 meters. A broken neck and a punctured lung hasn't dissuaded Robbie Madison from pursuing the death-defying thrills his sport provides. Instead, with a twist of the throttle, he emulated his hero, Evel Knievel, and launched himself into the clouds to become the greatest daredevil of all time.